Hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac Whopper. Hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac Whopper. Hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac Whopper.
What's up, sisters? It's your boy, Beef, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're stepping into the feet of the warrior prophet himself, House Atreides, a build that sees every possible future and walks a narrow path to victory. This isn't just any ranger sorcerer build. This is precision, prophecy, and power all wrapped into one. We're combining the deadliness of a Horizon Walker Ranger with the commanding presence of the modded Divine Right Sorcerer, letting you control the battlefield like a true Kwisatz Haderach. You'll be striking before enemies can react, vanishing into the shadows, and bending enemies' minds to your will. When you walk the golden path, every move is inevitable. We're going to be covering the leveling for this character, the best gear and equipment, and I'll show you a little bit of combat to demonstrate how this build plays later in the video. So if you're ready to embrace destiny, claim your birthright, and make your enemies kneel before the true ruler of Baldur's Gate, let's get straight into it. For Muad'Dib's race, we're going with a high half-elf. Paul is obviously a human, but he has something more. A latent power that makes him a little bit different. I feel like Half-Elf reflects that duality and also just allows us to get a free cantrip at the start of the game. I've also decided to go with Eredin's face for this character. You remember Eredin, right? He's that guy who's banging on the gates of the Grove, begging to get in when the goblins attack. Yeah, Eredin looks exactly like Timothée Chalamet if you give him longer hair. It's kind of weird. So Eredin's face is a must for this build. If you don't use it, you're not the true Kwisatz Haderach. For our racial cantrip, I'm taking Booming Blade because it won't require us to have points in our intelligence score since we're going to be focusing primarily on charisma as our spellcasting statistic. And starting at level 1, we're beginning with the Ranger class. These early levels of Ranger are going to reflect Paul's early life training under Duncan Idaho to be a great duelist and combatant. For our favorite enemy, I'm going to go with Sanctified Stalker, not because we plan on using Sacred Flame ever, but because we'll have proficiency in religion, the religion of the Bene Gesserit, that is. For our Natural Explorer option, we're going to go with Wasteland Wanderer Fire, because if we're going to be exploring the vast deserts of Arrakis, we might as well have resistance to fire damage. For our ability scores, we want to focus primarily on Dexterity and also Charisma. As a ranger and also a sorcerer eventually, these are going to be our attack and also spellcasting stats, respectively. For both, we've gone with a score of 16. We're setting our constitution to 14 for hit points and also concentration saving throw bonuses. We're going to set our wisdom to 12, sacrificing both our strength and intelligence at scores of 8. Paul is undeniably intelligent, but we're going to specialize more into the wisdom aspect of it because that's the effect of the spice and the prescience. At level 2, we're going to be learning 2 spells and also a fighting style. For our spells, I'm going to go with Long Strider and also Enhanced Leap for some great utility options. And for our fighting style, I'm going to take the Dueling fighting style because we're primarily going to be wielding a small crysknife in our main hand. A dagger, more or less. At level 3, we're going to be choosing our Ranger subclass and also a new spell. For our spell, I'm going to take Absorb Elements so that we can imbue our weapon with elemental damage when we take some. For our subclass, we're taking the modded Horizon Walker subclass. I'm using the subclass provided through the 5e Ranger subclasses combined mod by Sumred Agnoth, but you could use a different one if there's another one that you prefer. Horizon Walkers guard the world against threats that originate from other planes or that seek to ravage the mortal realm with otherworldly magic. I think this is a perfect subclass for Paul Atreides in the very beginning of his journey on Arrakis. The main bonus that we're going to get here is our Planar Warrior buff. This is kind of like Hunter's Mark, but a little bit different. We're going to use a bonus action to apply this debuff onto an enemy, and then our next weapon attack against them will do an additional 1d8 force damage, also converting our base weapon damage to force damage type. We'll also learn access to Protection from Evil and Good, which is a nice spell to have, and also Detect Portal. In Baldur's Gate 3, Detect Portal is basically just an ability that grants us advantage on perception checks for 1 minute, which is pretty nice to have if you're in an area where you know that you're going to have a bunch of perception checks to make if you're in like a dungeon or anything else like that where you have a bunch of traps. At level 4, we're really only getting access to a new feat, and I'm going to go with an ability score improvement for 2 more points into our dexterity score for more powerful and accurate weapon attacks. At level 5, we're getting access to our Ranger's extra attack ability, as well as access to the Misty Step spell. We're also going to pick one additional spell, and I am going to be choosing Force Weapon. This is a spell that we can concentrate on to increase the force damage of our weapon and also give us a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, applying a 1d4 extra force damage bonus. At level 6, we're done taking levels of Ranger because it's time to become the Warrior Prophet himself. We're going to start taking levels of the Sorcerer class here. The subclass that we want to take is Divine Right, a mod created by the Wailing Bard based on homebrew content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition by Laser Llama. The subclass flavor from Laser Llama's version reads, "Once in a generation, a divinely chosen ruler is born amongst the people. Some cults and countries seek out these blessed rulers, trusting the gods to select their leader. However, the existence of these chosen sorcerers poses a significant threat to those who currently hold power. While some will willingly step aside to let the will of the gods rule, other less honorable leaders will hunt down these challenges to their power." It's at this moment that our character, Paul Atreides, starts to become the Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from Outer World. He is the supposed chosen one, divinely ordained by the Fremen gods and Bene Gesserit prophecies to become the Kwisatz Haderach and lead the Fremen to Green Paradise. This subclass is going to give us access to a few choice spells at odd levels that will help emulate our power of the voice. With our first level, we're going to learn the Command spell, which is going to be our first ability as a Bene Gesserit, to literally command people to do our bidding. We're also going to learn Heroism, which is a nice spell to help us inspire our Fremen allies and lead them to Green Paradise. Our subclass also gives us access to Words of Authority, which will allow us to impose disadvantage on an enemy within melee range when we cast an enchantment spell like Command. We can do this once per short rest, which is really awesome. Since we're also a sorcerer, we get to choose 4 different cantrips. I'm going to go with Mind Sliver for psychic damage with our voice, Friends for persuading people, Mage Hand, and also Minor Illusion for some good utility. For our spells, I'm going to go with Shield and also Disguise Self. Shield spell because everyone in Dune has those special technological shields that they have access to, and Disguise Self because Muad'Dib is Paul's alias to pretend like he's dead and still act like the leader of the Fremen people. Our subclass is also going to give us a Divine Mark, allowing us to gain expertise in one of 3 charisma skills, either Persuasion, Deception, or Intimidation. I'm going to choose Persuasion so that we can persuade the Fremen to follow us, and also because Persuasion is just one of the best skills to have in the game. For reasons that I still haven't figured out, whenever I take a multi-class 1 level of Sorcerer, my game decides to give me +1 point to Constitution and 2 points into Charisma, so my Constitution is now a 15 and my Charisma is now an 18. I'm not really complaining about this, but it's just something that I haven't figured out. I have so many damn mods installed that there's probably one that's doing this by mistake. Oh well, it's really not that overpowered. It's pretty strong, but we're not going to put too many other options into it, and we're not going to have too many feats to boost them otherwise, so this is pretty much fine for where we are. If your game isn't doing this, you'll still be fine. I'll just be a little bit more powerful by 1 point, which is, I mean, it is what it is. At level 7, we're going to take our second level of Sorcerer for another spell and also some meta magic options. We also gain the ability to spend sorcery points on our Words of Authority ability to allow us to use the ability more than once per short rest so that we can go ahead and just tell lots of people to do our bidding. For our spell, I'm going to go with Charm Person because it's a fantastic spell. And for our meta magic options, I'm going with the classic Distance spell and also Twin spell. At level 8, we get our third level of Sorcerer for access to some more spells and also some extra meta magic options. From our subclass, we're going to learn Calm Emotions and also Crown of Madness, allowing us to both calm the Fremen and also drive the Harkonnens crazy with rage. For our chosen spell, I'm going to go with Mirror Image. Since we can see parts of the future, we can anticipate enemy attacks and confuse them with different realities. For our meta magic, I'm going to go with Quicken Spell so that we can cast some extra spells on our bonus action if we want to. At level 9, we get our fourth level of Sorcerer. For our new cantrip, we can take pretty much whatever we want here. I'm going to go with True Strike for fun. And for our chosen spell, I'm going to take Enhance Ability, which allows us to see all the possible futures and determine the best course of action, granting us advantage on ability checks. For our next feat, I'm going to go with another ability score improvement to get 2 more points into our dexterity score, bringing us up to a cap of 20. At level 10, we take our 5th level of Sorcerer. Our subclass is going to give us innate access to Spirit Guardians and also Conjure Barrage. Spirit Guardians is perfect for us as a melee combatant, and we're going to roleplay it as calling upon the spirits of the desert to aid us in battle. For our chosen 3rd level spell, I'm going to take Counterspell because it's fantastic and is awesome on pretty much any spellcasting character. At level 11, we get our 6th Sorcerer level. Our subclass is going to give us Words of Vigor, allowing us to inspire our allies and grant them temporary hit points based on how many sorcery points that we choose to spend. We can spend 1 sorcery point for 5 temporary hit points, 2 for 10, 3 for 15, and so on. For our chosen spell, I'm actually going to take a spell from the Mistress Spells mod called Maximilian's Earthen Grasp. This spell is going to allow us to summon an earthen hand of the Arrakis desert that can grab and crush our enemies because Arrakis is crushing to those who aren't prepared for its dangers. At level 12, we get our 7th level of Sorcerer, where we're going to learn both the Confusion and Guardian of Faith spells through our subclass. And for our chosen spell, I'm going to go with Greater Invisibility, not because Paul is invisible, but because the Fremen have the ability to kind of blend in with the desert and hide very well, and the Harkonnens have a very difficult time following them, and they are also able to do that thing where they kind of hide underneath the sand and then pop up at the last second. Kind of invisibility if you think about it. It at least helps you get surprise rounds, more than anything. At level 13, we take our 8th level of Sorcerer for another spell, and I am going to take the Scorching Ray spell so that we can blast enemies with the fiery power of the midday Arrakis sun. For our feat, I'm going to go with Warcaster so that we can help maintain our concentration spells. At level 14, we get our 9th level of Sorcerer. Our subclass is going to give us access to Conjure Elemental, which we're going to use to summon Earth Elementals as a physical manifestation of the desert. We can't get sandworms in this game, but we can get Earth Elementals instead. We can't have brainworms, but Earth Elementals are just as fun. We're also going to learn Dominate Person so that we can use the voice to dominate our enemies. And for our chosen spell, we're going to pick Hold Monster just because it's so insanely powerful and versatile to use on pretty much any enemy. At level 15, we're actually going to be taking our final level of Sorcerer for level 10. We're choosing a new cantrip, which I'm going with the Light spell. You can go with pretty much whatever you want here. For our chosen spell, I'm going to go with Erupting Earth from the Mistress Spells mod, because it's a big earthen AoE that slows enemies with the sands of Arrakis. And for our metamagic option, I'm going to go with Heightened Spell so that we can impose disadvantage on enemies' saving throws against our different spells. At level 16, we're going to start multiclassing into one final class. We're about to drink the Water of Life, gaining full prescience and becoming the Kwisatz Haderach. To do that, we're taking 5 levels of the Mystic class. Since the Mystic class abilities use intelligence for spellcasting, we're going to focus primarily on buff spells that will affect us and our allies instead of attacking our enemies. For our psionic talents, I'm going to go with Blade Meld, which is going to make it so that we can use a bonus action to not be disarmed. And we're also going to go with Mystic Hand, which allows you to telekinetically throw things from your inventory. For our subclass, I'm going to go with the Order of the Nomad. Nomads are on a never-ending quest to unravel the mysteries of the multiverse, adapting their psionics to ease their travels. I think this is perfect to kind of emulate the way that in Dune, the navigators have to use spice and all sorts of other things to navigate through the universe and be able to do space travel, and I think the same could apply for Paul Atreides. This subclass is going to allow us to choose 2 nomad disciplines, and I'm going to go with both Nomadic Grace and also Nomadic Step. Nomadic Grace is going to give us access to one particular ability, however we can't use it yet. Since at this point we can only cast 1 psi point at a time, we're not going to be able to use the Blessing of the Winds, but once we reach level 20, we're going to use the Blessing of the Winds to increase our melee range by 4.5 meters and buffing our weapon attacks with an additional 1d6 psychic damage so that we can hit people with our Chris Knife from absolutely insane melee range. We're also going to get Quick Draw, which is a fun reaction ability that allows us to respond to an attack by teleporting to the enemy and hitting them with our own attack. Nomadic Step, on the other hand, gives us access to a whole bunch of different teleporting abilities. We start off with Step of a Dozen Paces, allowing us to teleport up to 6 meters or more if we spend more psi points. Defensive Step, There and Back Again, Transposition, Baleful Transposition, and we're not going to be able to cast these ones because they require 6 and 7, but that's okay. We're only going to be able to cast things that are going up to level 5. As a mystic, we also get one free psionic discipline from any subclass, and I am going to choose the Mantle of Command. This is going to give us access to coordinated movement, single up to 5 allies to move as a unit, increasing their movement speed by 4.5 meters. Commander's Sight, which is a concentration ability that reveals a creature's weaknesses, giving advantage to attack rolls against it. Command to Strike, direct an ally to strike a foe. They can make an additional weapon attack on their next turn. And eventually Strategic Mind, a concentration ability that allows us to exert an aura of trust and command, uniting your allies to move as a cohesive unit. Nearby allies can dash or disengage as a bonus action, or add 1d4 to each damage roll during their turn. The main things that we're going to want here are coordinated movement, the Commander's Sight, and also Command to Strike, so that we can help inspire our allies and increase their combat abilities. At level 17, we take our second level of the Mystic class for permanent detect thoughts through telepathy, and also the mystical recovery ability, allowing us to recover a few hit points equal to our Mystic level. At level 18, we get our third level of the Mystic class. Our subclass is going to give us the Memory of 1,000 Steps, forcing an attack to miss us. Until the end of our next turn, we can use the ability to teleport freely once per short rest, because we saw this major attack coming and we devised a plan to avoid it. For a psionic talent, Beacon is pretty cool, allowing us to infuse ourselves with light. And for our psionic discipline, I'm going to go with Mastery of Time. As the Kwisatz Haderach, we can see the narrow way through. We can use this discipline to hand out turns of haste using borrowed time, make ourselves or our allies more resistant to enemy attacks with Twist of Fate, force enemies to re-roll their attack rolls with Future Sight, and also banish creatures with the Time Stop ability. We can also activate the Psychic Focus here to gain advantage on perception checks if we're in a situation where we need to make a bunch of perception checks. At level 19, we get our fourth level of the Mystic class. We get the Strength of Mind passive, which allows us to choose proficiency in a saving throw of our choice once per day. I usually go with Wisdom. We also get to pick one more feat, and I'm going to go with the Alert feat, because this is going to allow us to gain a +5 bonus to initiative and not be able to be surprised, which is really fantastic, because as the Kwisatz Haderach, we pretty much see everything coming, and we have the upper hand in all of the combat situations. And finally, at level 20, we get our final level of Mystic for one last psionic discipline. I'm going to choose the Mastery of Metal, primarily because its Psychic Focus is so useful, and also for the Sharpened Steel ability. The Psychic Focus makes it so that attackers can't land critical hits on us, which is fantastic. It will replace our use of any of the adamantine armor pieces. And the Sharpened Steel allows us to spend psi points to guarantee a critical hit with our very next weapon attack, which cannot miss, because we can see the future and find out exactly where we want to hit our enemies for the greatest impact. That's pretty much all for the leveling of this character, so let's figure out what gear is going to turn us into the true Lisan al-Gaib, the Kwisatz Haderach, and the warrior prophet Paul Usul Muad'Dib Atreides. For our helmet, I have the Birthright equipped so that we can increase our charisma score by 2 up to possible 22. Ours was an 18, so now we are at a charisma score of 20. This is obviously one of the best helmets in the game, and also as the Birthright, it really matches in with the Divine Right, sort of Kwisatz Haderach. We were destined to become the Kwisatz Haderach. We were destined to become the Warrior Prophet, the Lisan al-Gaib. I think this fits perfectly, both thematically and statistically. For our cloak, I've gone with the Cloak of Displacement. At the beginning of the wearer's turn, the cloak activates, granting enemies disadvantage on attack rolls that target the wearer. This effect lasts until the wearer takes damage. This is really great to increase our survivability. For our armor, I have the Armor of Agility. Add your full dexterity modifier to your armor class. Additionally, this armor does not impose disadvantage on stealth ability checks and gives us a +2 bonus to saving throws. One of the best medium armors in the game. Up until that point, you can pretty much use any other medium armor that you want to. For our gloves, I have the Gloves of Power. On a hit with a weapon attack, possibly inflict a 1d4 penalty to the target's attack rolls and saving throws, and get a sleight of hand bonus of +1. This is really awesome because we're going to be doing weapon attacks a lot and then following it up with different spells, so we're going to be able to impose that penalty onto our target's attack rolls and also their saving throws. For our boots, I have the Boots of Persistence, which give us freedom of movement and also the Long Strider passives. We'll also have dexterity saving throws with a +1 bonus, which is really awesome. These are some of the best boots in the game. For our amulet, we have the Amulet of the Devout. You gain a +2 bonus to your spell save DC, and you gain additional use of Channel Divinity. Once used, it is restored upon taking a long rest. We don't have any Channel Divinity spells because we're not a cleric, but that's okay. This is mostly here so that we can gain a +2 bonus to our spell save DC. For our ring, I have the Eversight ring because the wearer cannot be blinded, and as the Kwisatz Haderach, we always have true sight. We cannot be blinded from the future. We know everything that is going to happen, and we can find the narrow way through. And for our other ring, I have the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel equipped. After hitting a creature with a weapon attack, you can cast illusion or enchantment spells as a bonus action. This is a little bit similar to the Smiting Bard build that uses command on its bonus action, so we're going to do something a little bit similar to that, or command on our bonus action if we want to. But basically, this is just going to allow us to make our weapon attacks, impose that 1d4 penalty to their saving throws, and then cast a great spell that will possibly then further impose penalties on their other abilities. For our weapon, I have the Rhapsody Dagger equipped, which has Scarlet Remittance, gain a +1 bonus to attack rolls, damage, and spell save DC for every foe you slay up to a maximum of +3. And also Sweet Bloodletting, possibly inflict bleeding when hitting a creature with this weapon while hiding or invisible. This is going to be our Chris knife. You can use pretty much any dagger that you want to. You could use this one. You could also use a short sword, being the Knife of the Undermountain King when you're in the earlier parts of the game before you get the Rhapsody from Cazador. You could also eventually use the Crimson Mischief if you want to, but I am going to go with the Rhapsody because it's also going to give us that great +3 bonus to our damage and spell save DC. And for our bow, we're rarely going to do range attacks, so I'm just going to go with the dead shot in our hand so that we can increase the likelihood of rolling a critical hit by reducing the threshold by 1. But you could use pretty much any bow here. You could apply the Hellrider longbow if you want some more initiative, but this is a fun one just so we have a little bit more damage possibilities. That pretty much takes care of everything for all of the gear and equipment. For all of the gear, I did use the Faerun Colors mod, and I used, where was it? There it is. And for this, I actually used the mask die from the Lord of Shadows, which has shadow black and dark leather, because I think all combined, this kind of gives a little bit of a still suit kind of vibe, and it makes us look really cool, and just makes us look a lot like Paul Atreides, especially when he is on Arrakis. If only there was a way to get the little air tube that goes to your nose. Oh well. If you know of any mods that do that, let me know, because that would be really cool, and I would love to include that. But other than that, let's go ahead and check out some of our abilities. We have a whole ton of them available to us. It fills up pretty much our entire hotbar, and I have a extended hotbar here too with another mod. So let's go ahead and take a look at what these abilities do. So with our Mystic class, one of the cool things that we have access to is our Psychic Focuses. It uses the same icon as Thaumaturgy if you're looking for it. It took me a little bit to find it here because there's so many icons to look through, but it does look just like Thaumaturgy. When we open it up, we have a few different options that we can go with. The Mastery of Metal one, the Mastery of Time one, Nomadic Step, Nomadic Grace, and also Mantle of Command. I'm going to go with Mastery of Metal so that we can have immunity to critical hits to reduce the damage that we take against enemies, because at the end of the day, we only have 139 health points. 139 sounds like a lot, but in this game, 139 can get whittled down pretty quickly. Other than that, you can pretty much just apply any of the buffs that you want. If you don't yet have the Boots of Persistence, you can do your Long Strider buff. I already have them, so I don't need to do it to myself, but you can do it if you want to. Before we get into combat, I actually forgot to go over some of the Illithid abilities that we're going to use with this character, because if you know anything about Dune, you know that Paul's son eventually decides to follow the Golden Path and becomes a Kwisatz Haderach himself, and also eventually just becomes a full-on sandworm at a certain point. So even though we don't have access to sandworm abilities, we do have access to brainworm abilities. I mostly just have some of my favorite ones here that I go with on most of my runs. I have Favorable Beginnings, Luck of the Far Realms, Illithid Expertise. We have Charm, Psionic Dominance, Force Tunnel, Displace, Repulsor, all mostly so that we can get access to Fly. We have Concentrated Blast, Psionic Backlash, Cull the Weak, and also Mind Blast, because these are all just really fantastic ones to take. You could grab some other ones if you wanted to, but these are my favorites and the ones that I'm going to go ahead and go with. I almost forgot to go over it, but we also have our Blessing of the Winds passive to be able to apply to ourselves. This is going to increase our melee weapon range by 4.5 meters and also give us 1d6 extra psychic damage. We can just pop this on ourselves. There's no concentration buff here. It just is on us until long rest, which is really fantastic. I'm also going to use our 6th level spell slot to go ahead and summon ourselves an Earth Myrmidon. Even though we don't have access to a sandworm, we can do this instead. But let's go ahead and get down into some combat and see what we can go ahead and do. So the first thing I'm going to do is put down a Guardian of Faith right here just to help me be a little bit more powerful. And then I'm going to summon myself some Spirit Guardians at the 3rd level. And then we're going to enter turn-based mode and apply our planar warrior debuff onto Gauntlet Edwina.
Witnessed assaulting someone.
Let's get cooking. We rolled a 14 for our initiative. Let's go ahead and run in here so that we can... Why is it making me do that? Can't I just go here? Whatever. Let's go over here then. We'll go right over here to get these guys with some Spirit Guardians damage, ye freaking haw. And normally, because of our Blessing of the Winds, we can attack pretty much anybody who is within this giant circle from exactly where we are. We can hit this guy if we want to. We can hit this guy, this guy, this guy. Not quite this guy. We'd have to move a little bit, but that's okay. We just want to kill Gauntlet Edwina. Look at the far realms. Woohoo! That's a lot of damage. Him again, and now we don't have a bonus action because we used it on our planar warrior mark, so let's end our turn. Do not react. Do not react. That's a lot of reaction abilities. Keep hitting me, I dare you. Folly? Too bad. Let's make him re-roll. Bruh. Bruh. Yeah, hit that Spirit Guardians. Bruh. Hit that Spirit Guardians damage. Bruh. Get out of here. Alright, Myrmidon. What are you gonna do? You're gonna come over here. And you're gonna, there's Edwina. I want her dead. She's dead. Cool. End our turn. That's why you don't attack a Guardian of Faith. Now we have our full action here. Let's go ahead and see. We can kill this guy outright. Hell yeah. Let's do this guy. 11 and 3. And now we have our bonus action. And because of our cool Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, we can cast all of these spells with our bonus action. We're already concentrating on Spirit Guardians, so we're not going to do any of these concentration abilities. But what we can do is either use Command or Mind Sliver. Mind Sliver will just do some psychic damage to any enemy that we want to. But we can also do Command and do some really cool shenanigans like Command Grovel up to the 4th level. And we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody's now sitting on the ground. Do not react. 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 And now we've completely skipped all their turns. It's our Myrmidon's turn, so we're gonna go ahead and actually let's do this. Let's burrow right here. Now that's what sandworms do, isn't it? I'm going to hit this guy. End our turn. And now we're back to our Muad'Dib. I'm going to hit this guy. And then who else do we want to kill? Let's kill this guy. And now with our Bane of the Mystic Scoundrel, we can do a enchantment or illusion spell. Let's do Mind Sliver, and I'm going to do it on this guy. Hell yeah, he's dead. End our turn. This guy's attacking, so I'm going to quick draw. Kabah! Teleport straight to him. Also applying him some Spirit Guardians damage. Skip that. Let's teleport over here. Because this guy needs to take some damage. And hit him. Oh, I missed. Oh well. Muad'Dib can kill him. Kill him, Muad'Dib. Nice. Now we can come over here and get this guy. We can hit him from really far away. And then we can use our cool Band of the Mystic Scoundrel to do some fun shenanigans. I'm actually going to move closer So we can get the Spirit Guardian's damage, and now we're going to abandon the Mystic Scoundrel. What should we do, though? Let's Mind Sliver, because it'll probably kill him. Yep. Cool. End our turn. And this archer is going to drive me crazy. Let's quick draw up to him. Ha 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 ha! Hey! Well, that pulled my 3 other guys into combat. That was kind of rude. He pushed me off the edge. Let's teleport up, I guess. Or it's too far. Dash. No, it's not. It's not too far. I know it's not. There we go. Bing. I don't have an action, but I can. Let's see. I don't need Psylocke to do anything. Or Beefly. Let's have Gambit take care of this. Gambit, fuck this motherfucker up. Right here. And what do you want to do, Gambit? You want a Psionic Blast. He pushed me off the edge, so now I'm gonna push him off the edge. Eat shit. How dare you kill Muad'Dib? Oh, this guy too? Man up Falcao? What's he doing down there? Rahar? You cannot escape me. End our turn. And let's have, what are you doing down there? How'd you even, where are you? Huh? What's he gonna, okay, where are you, bud? That's, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Huh? You can't do that. You're under the ground. You're in the bridge. I think I glitched it. Oh well. But that pretty much does it for this Paul Atreides Ranger Sorcerer Mystic build using the Horizon Walker and the Divine Right Sorcerer. What do you think of this build? I think it's a really fun concept that can get a little bit complicated, but also has a ton of different utility and combat options, making it an absolute powerhouse. Plus, Dune is one of my favorite movies and books, so that's a major bonus, at least in my eyes. If you like these types of videos, let me know by liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more modded Baldur's Gate 3 content. But other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye!